Happy early 4th of July!
So in order to celebrate this occasion, we have donned some amazing 4th of July attire from Party City. But otherwise, today what I would like to discuss on MediTalks on Air is what to do and how to take advantage of PCSing abroad. I'm Megan Jackson. I'm the social media specialist for Meditech, and today I have Miguel Villalpando. You may have seen him on Twitter at Meditech Miguel, and he's going to basically discuss, as an admissions advisor, what he suggests in order for you to take advantage of PCSing abroad. So Miguel, could you first start out kind of describing, I know we've kind of done this in other episodes, but describing a little bit more about the student body at Meditech?
Of course. Although everybody can take courses at Meditech, a vast majority of our student population is military spouses. Mm-hmm. And one thing about military spouses is they are accustomed to PCSing, which for those who don't know what PCSing is permanent change of station, where they are either relocating within the United States or abroad, which is what we're going to focus on today. Mm-hmm. And then, so they're moving all the time, so mm-hmm. that's one aspect, so they kind of need an education that can go with them.
Yeah,
as of where they're going. And then, of course, a decent amount are actually moving for 3 to 5 years abroad, so they're kind of overseas for a while. And
right.
then they're coming here to visit. But
so moving abroad is actually pretty common for a military spouse.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of my students, they tell me when they move abroad, they're getting accustomed to different plays, you know, different life change for them. Kind of like they're also on base the majority of the time.
Yeah, because they're going to a country possibly where they don't even speak the language, right? So
exactly.
Base tends to be kind of like their little safety bubble. Yeah.
They're bored.
Mm-hmm. Just going to a new place, yeah.
And definitely they may not be able to find a job because
mm-hmm.
you're in a different country.
Right, and foreign labor laws, essentially.
Exactly. So I tell them, why not? This is a perfect time for you to focus on your education.
Mm-hmm.
This is a time to invest in yourself, and then as well as utilize it to the best of your abilities.
Right, exactly. So why don't we expand on that a little bit more? So why do you think that when you PCS abroad, it is the opportune time to kind of invest in your education?
There are several reasons why I think it is a better time. One is that you have more flexibility in time. Mm-hmm. You don't have your family that close. You don't have to worry about, as far as other major events in their life, such as maybe family obligations and so what it is you can give yourself more of a measurable time to attain your goal for yourself.
Because I would think that if I was like, okay, I'm going to be PCSing abroad, I would see like, okay, this particular time, my 3 to 5 years, or maybe just my 1 year that I PCS abroad, like that's a perfect like marker. Like, okay, during this time period, I want to invest in my education, that I want to, feel like when I go back to the States that I've gained something,
Exactly. So you want to take this time to really take this course and finish it while you're still stationed abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And then another way is that you're easy to get stuck in your daily routine here in the United States. I mean,
right.
You got your children going to school, then they got their neighbors' kids, and then also you got families, and then get a job. Really
right.
easy to get a job and put your education on hold.
Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to just be like, okay, no, I'm going to do this. Like, oh, I can't go to school right now.
Right.
I have to focus on my kids. I have to do work, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's just a time where it's like really, I mean, we all do it. It's really easy to let like work and kind of your responsibilities take over, where you feel like you shouldn't be spending that time investing on yourself, basically, because all these other people need you,
Exactly. And while you're abroad, it's easier to erase it all. Erase that routine and then say, this is the time for me to focus on my education.
Right, exactly. No, I totally understand, because it's just they go abroad and it's like a whole new place. So you can be like, oh, routine, I've never been here before. I don't have a routine here yet. So why don't you make education part of your routine, right?
Exactly. And so why not take a flexible course while you're abroad and, and when you come back to the United States, have the opportunity to get a job, something mm-hmm. different than what you were doing before.
Mm-hmm. Right, because then you could basically say when you get back, like, oh, I feel like I'm a step up. I'm not just coming back to the same old, right?
Exactly.
So in your opinion, what are some courses that you think are really good to take while you're abroad?
Well, for military spouses, there are a lot of flexible courses, but it just depends on what your interests are. So, but two of them that I would like to talk about would be medical transcription and legal transcription. One is that most majority of the companies do have those employees as remote employees. So why
is that important to have remote employees? Because I've noticed that a lot of our courses are, geared towards people who want to work remotely. So why is that important for a military spouse?
One thing is you got to pay for daycare when you go to work. The other thing is it's kind of hard. Some of them traveling, some don't have vehicles, some do. So if you're working from home, you're able to manage your household, you're able to manage your job, and just kind of manage everything at home. And it's more flexible because you can do it online, and it's just easier to adapt to.
Right, exactly. And the fact that they're, like we said, PCSing all the time, so you just have to have an education or a position that can roll with you, that doesn't matter where you are when you're doing it. So you said medical transcription and legal transcription? Legal transcription.
But a few other ones that I would suggest are year-long programs, such as clinical medical technician, where you can get 3 certifications in one, which is so that way you can focus on each area and not feel like you need to do it all quickly because you're ready to get a job, because you're taking your time. And really learn about it. Dental assisting. And then another great thing about that is that you don't necessarily have to be in the States to take the certifications. There are locations abroad that you can go and sit for the tests. Now, some of them do require you to have some experience or be able to perform certain duties, but you can do is potentially maybe shadow or go on base and shadow somebody there. And so that way you have that visual and kind of get an idea.
Right. And that's actually a really good point. Do you have suggestions for military spouses, like when they're on base, how to approach somebody about possibly shadowing?
As ideas as far as that, maybe go to your nearest clinic, if you know a nurse there or a doctor, or talk to the head person there and say, I would really like to have the opportunity to shadow and really see what it's like on a daily life of someone doing that certain position, such as like clinical medical assistant.
Right.
And hopefully they will, since you're a military spouse, and see if you have that opportunity.
Right. And basically you can either say, like, I'm interested in taking a course in this area, but I'm not sure if I really enjoy it yet, so I want to just try it out. Or you can actually be in class, right, and say, like, okay, I just want experience before I actually go out into the real world trying to get a position, because realize experience is a very important aspect. And don't we help people gain experience as well? We don't just send them out and say, hey, go ask people. What else do we do for them?
We do have career services where we have an advisor for career services that would actually work with them, help them build a resume. Some people don't have resumes. And then as well as kind of give them ideas on how to start off with that, kind of route them in the direction that they need to in order to help them.
And we also have externships, correct?
Correct. We have externships where they can actually work with them. Now, it just depends on the area, see what they can find, but they will help them to the best of their abilities. But also they can gain that when they come back to the States.
Right. So an externship is basically like an internship. It's just you're not interning for, like, you're not within an actual, like, university where you're getting credit for it. But it is a way for you to go out into your different areas, all over the States or abroad, in order to basically gain experience with an actual employer. So we actually help a lot of our students do that. Now, it's not required, but it is recommended, because realize, like I said, experience is a very important aspect when you're trying to apply for jobs, right?
Correct. And it's also like a job interview. You're going in and interviewing for this company and doing the daily routines and everything and showing them why they should hire you at the end of the day. You're successful.
So it's actually an opportunity where you could possibly get hired. It's not guaranteed, but you possibly could. It's definitely a good route to go. So are there any other courses that you suggest?
Another one maybe not many people thought about is culinary.
Yeah?
Culinary Online. So you're thinking, how can you do that? Well, the great thing about our course is on the student portal, you're able to take pictures of your dishes and submit them to the instructor for critique. And then as well as write a daily log of what you did and everything. So it is another thing to think about, because you're also in a foreign country. You're using different spices. You're different ingredients that you wouldn't think about here in the United States.
Right. So you could actually try, like, actually cooking things that maybe aren't as frequented here. So you can learn some new items, basically.
And then when you come back to the States, you have that experience from Europe, because you get to learn all those local restaurants and get more ideas.
I mean, that sounds like fun, like basically learning how to to cook a different type of cuisine. But you did say that you'd actually send the pictures to an instructor.
Correct.
So I think that's something that we should highlight. We have actual instructors for
Yes.
our online classes, correct?
Correct. The instructors will help you one-on-one. They're focused with you. They do get back with you within 24 to 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely they're always open for emails, and they will help you throughout the process, give you ideas on how to get to that next level for yourself.
Right, and they actually also schedule study sessions. So for instance, if you're doing medical terminology and you're just like, ooh, I just don't get it, your instructor will actually be there. They have study aids for you, and then also basically have times online where everybody could get on and either ask questions or do an actual study session. So it's something that we hold really importantly here at Meditech, is that we just don't sign you up and leave you out there to just do your class. We actually have people there to support you. And I just thought that that was really important to say right then, you know. So, but let's see. We also have the social media course, right?
Of course. That's another thing that people don't think about. I mean, you're doing everything online, so why not be able to have the opportunity to work from home for those aspects after, you know, getting some experience and Instagramming. Twitter. We love Twitter. As well as Google Hangouts. So there's so many ways of promoting your companies that people don't think about social media being another opportunity to go into.
Right. And it's definitely something, if you're thinking about going into business or into basically the marketing realm, it's not all of marketing, but it certainly is a good place to start. So it's definitely an area where if you were abroad, you can definitely do that remotely, where, I mean, social media is everywhere. It's just, you know, getting on and connecting to the internet. So it's definitely a place to kind of get your foot in the door for those sort of more business areas.
Exactly.
So, but the whole thing, though, like we've talked about some really great courses, and they sound really amazing in the fact that we do have support, but how much does it cost?
Great question. As low as $199 for some of our courses to as high as $39.95. And the great thing about that, for military spouses out there, there is a MyCA grant that covers up to $4,000. So vast majority of our programs would be covered. Completely.
So can you expand a little bit more on what the MyCA grant is and kind of the process a little bit?
Of course. The MyCA grant is a government grant for military spouses that have to be active military between pay grades of E1, E5, O1, O2, W1, W2, and to where as long as they're active, they are able to see if they qualify to utilize towards their education. They cover, you do have to be into some, and excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied today. As far as they do have to be in an area or career where it's career focused. So as far as it can't be general, it has to be program specific.
Right. So it can't be something like general studies, interdisciplinary studies. It's basically focusing on programs that can be directly tied to a particular position. So that's why a lot of our courses, we try and focus them on more, you know, vocational aspects, where we really care about the fact whether or not our students, you know, basically get employed after we, you know, service them with our education, basically.
On-demand fields.
Right, exactly.
Really
on-demand fields. So, but let's talk a little bit about, that's actually a good segue. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the positions that we were talking about before. Like, what does the job prospects look like? What kind of you know, salary can you expect, basically? According
to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they've asked from 30 to 35, depending on experience and everything. Go from there and build up. So it's always about, you know, going in there, showing what you can offer to the company, and then expand from there. And that's how you can always gain the experience.
Right, exactly. And then another important aspect is just the fact that a lot of these courses basically lead to positions in areas that that are everywhere. So for instance, the medical field. No matter where you go, there's going to be a medical industry, basically. Every place needs hospitals. Every place needs doctors' offices. I mean, that's just part of being human, right? And then legal as well. It's just we try and pick courses that lead into job fields that, you know, are relevant to the general population. It's not like you have to be in a particular area or something like that.
Like culinary, for example. There's restaurants everybody has to eat.
Everybody has to eat. That's a very good point. I'm actually kind of hungry right now. So when would you actually suggest for somebody to get started? Say I'm a military spouse. I know I'm about to PCS in a few months abroad. When would be a good time for me to get started?
Great question. And what I tell my students is start now.
The
reason why is because once you start packing and moving everything, you're going to push it to the back burner, and you'll wait until you get there. Why not start now? The reason why is because you want to get all your ducks in a row prior to relocating. You want to give us a call as soon as possible, a month in advance. So that way you can start going through the process, having a one-on-one consultation with us to really find out more about you, what your goals are, where you see yourself going, really seeing what you can see yourself doing.
Right.
And then figuring out that program. Once we do, have you register for the MyCA grant, upload a training plan, setting up your appointment with MyCA to get it approved.
Right.
All that process could take up to 2 weeks depending on when your appointment is. So you really want to get started as soon as possible, getting completely registered with the school. Right. Once you do that, then your books have to go out. Especially if you're living abroad, it could take up to a month.
It could take a while.
It could take up to a month. So you definitely want to start now, because this is, by the time you get there, you'll have everything in, all your ducks in a row, such as you're enrolled, your books are on the way. So by the time you get there, guess what? They will be there. And then as well as you'll be ready to start on that first day.
Right, exactly. And I think it's actually a really good point, because if you're in this mode where you're like, I really need to, invest in my education, I think this is a good opportunity, this is a good time, you really want to start when you're motivated to actually do the course. And it's very easy, once you start getting into actually packing, and then you get there and you have to get settled and everything, and then if you just start the process right then, it could take a month or two to actually get your books, be able to actually get in and start. And who knows, by the time that you actually do that, if you're going to still be motivated to move forward. And that's not to say anything about anybody individually. That's just a human quality. It's just when you're excited about something, that's when you should do it, because otherwise you're going to be no, later on.
So start now.
Yeah, exactly. But I do also want to say that we are in no way trying to push you into doing it. I was actually listening to another admissions advisor on the phone earlier today, Sue, and she was basically talking about a student who had already gotten something in the medical field. I think she got a bachelor's, but she wanted to get a certification as well. And then she was basically trying to say, well, let's have a conversation and basically figure out, if you can go ahead and already take the certification test and you don't really need our class, or if you should take our class because you kind of need this refresher, this is new information that will be on the certification test. Exactly. So we definitely, when we talk to people, we really sit down and figure out what would be best for you, because we don't want you spending money that you don't need to be spending. We don't want you to be using this MyCA grant on something that won't be worth it for you, basically. Exactly. So when we say start now, it's more about your motivation at that moment, not
research your field.
We need to get you in here. Yeah.
Research your field. Really find out what you want to do, and start now as far as getting, finding out is that what you want to do, or narrowing down your characteristics. Are you somebody who wants to be in an office? Do you want to work from home? What type of field? Do you want to cook? Do you not want to cook?
Right, exactly.
Do you like the legal system?
Yeah, do you even like it? And that's something that we can actually help you with, because those are very, large questions, and if you don't know anybody in that field, it's very hard to kind of get that information, to get that inside look. So we definitely try and, sit down with you and talk things out with you. So first thing, we're going to actually open it up for questions right now. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type them in the chat box, ask us a few questions. But while you're doing that, thinking of some things to talk about, I'm actually going to ask Miguel if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Of course. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at miguel.villalpando, I know it's long, at 360training.com, or you can give me a call at 512-775-5752. And you can also follow me at meditech_Miguel.
Great. Okay, we're just going to see if there are any questions here. I'm actually going to open chat up for a second. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Because this is live, obviously sometimes there's a little lull time. But let's see. Q&A. Okay. So it looks like we don't actually have any questions. Like we said, you can tweet Miguel at @Meditech_Miguel. That's probably the most easiest way to get in touch with him. But if you want to have a more one-on-one conversation that isn't, necessarily out in the open for everybody, you can email or call him. And I will definitely put that information on the event page for this Google Hangout. But otherwise, if you'd like to get in touch with Meditech, we are on Twitter, of course. It's @MeditechTweets. We have Facebook as well, so it's just simply Meditech. You can also view a recording of this webinar, or not webinar, Google Hangout on Google+, and then also on YouTube. It's Meditech Online Ed. So, what else? And Instagram. That's
Follow us on Instagram.
That's the thing that
Lots of good pictures.
Yeah, @Meet Meditech. So that's basically kind of a behind the scenes, if you want to see what me and Miguel ate for lunch or something like that. But otherwise, we're going to let you go. Make sure you check out our webinar next week with Anna McNatt. She's our legal transcription and legal secretary. So if you want to learn a little bit more about those programs, it'll be the same time next week. So Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Check all of our social media outlets, and we'll definitely have a lot of information on that. But
so exciting.
Yeah, it's really good. She's super awesome. I love her. But otherwise, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for attending. I hope you enjoyed the video.
Happy 4th.
Oop, did I get the